Welcome. Today we're going to be discussing the technique Obstructing the Storm and some of the more important principles, rules, theories, concepts, and strategies of this technique. So let's review the strategy very quick. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be diverting this weapon, and we're going to do it through a very specific concept, jamming. Then we're going to be seizing this weapon and controlling this weapon, and we're going to be doing it through contact manipulation. And then once we've done all that, we are now able to do our countering. So now that we've gotten through the strategy, let's talk about the specifics. So as we've mentioned in many of our videos, sometimes in American Kenpo, we leave you at the end of a technique in a fight, and then you're left to finish it up if you see fit, or just leave. Well, this technique is a little bit different in the fact that it starts you in the middle of the fight. You may be going, what do you mean by starting in the middle of the fight? So for instance, let's say we started something like a Calming the Storm, and this person blocks the technique and then begins to do that overhand. So what happens in this case, well, what we would do is to something like the beginning of Obstructing the Storm so that we can control this weapon and react to it. Remember, you're in the middle of a fight, so you need to read the situation. So in this case, we did our jamming, but then we have to worry about a different concept here. Don't leave any loose extremities so that they can hit you. So in this case, if you'll notice what I did with my left foot is I stepped on their right foot and I begin to control their right hand, which only leaves that left hand in play. So you would say, well, okay, you still have that left hand in play, and yes, we do. But remember the strategy. What we're going to be doing is controlling and seizing this weapon and then contact manipulation. So this can be done in one of two ways. So if I am very quick at this and they haven't recognized the fact that they can use that left hand, I can then step towards them, take that left hand out of play, getting their head below their waist, completing the control of the opponent. But let's say we're in this situation and he's pretty quick and he starts to throw that weapon before I have a chance. Well, guess what? I could just do the opposite motion with my right foot rather than my left foot here and step away from that attacking weapon, getting to that exact same position again. So keep in mind, you're in a fight. You need to read the situation and decide which piece you're going to do first at which time. Don't be stuck to a predetermined set of maneuvers. So once we've gotten to this point, let's talk about how we're going to be doing this contact manipulation. What we don't want to do is gap. So in other words, I don't want to get to this position, remove this hand out, and then touch again. Okay, so that brings us into another concept here, is how we're going to have weapon availability. So in other words, if you look at this right over left as opposed to left over right, if I have left over right, I don't have the ability to do the rest of this contact manipulation because the hands aren't right. So I don't have the availability to A, hit the opponent, and B, continue to control the opponent. So it's very important that you have right over left so that we can continue with both weapon availability to their major targets, or vital targets in this case, and we have the ability to do that contact manipulation. Okay, so now once we've done that, we rotate, get onto the joint here, and then use that joint and the hand in opposition to one another to get them to bend forward. Okay, now that we've done that, the concept here is in order to control somebody's depth zone, in this case, what we want to do is control the height zone by getting their head at or below the waist. Now, once we've done that, we can now finish up this technique and counter on this opponent. We could do this through a variety of different ways, but in this case, we've done something very simple since a very beginner technique, and we're just kneeing, getting back to our normal position, and then at this point, you are still left in a fight. In other words, just like at the beginning, as you are sometimes left in the middle of a fight, in this technique, you're left in the middle of a fight. So you could just as easily cross out and cover, or keep in mind that we haven't stripped the weapon. We're done very much to this opponent, so we could extend this technique and do whatever we want. But in our case, all we're going to be doing is cross out and cover. So now that we've gone through the rules, principles, theories, and concepts, let's do it really slow so that you can see it being executed. Up. Hope this video helps you understand the American Kenpo system just a little bit better. Thank you very much.